What's up, guys? The Snowman here. Thanks for joining me today as we dive into all things regarding the Portuguese Primeira Liga. We're going to take a look at the structure of this great football league, so how it's set up, the teams involved, the schedule, the format. Please check out my other Football League Explained videos as well if you'd like, but for now, let's focus on the Portuguese Primeira Liga. So what exactly is it, the Primeira Liga, also known as Liga Portugal Betclic for sponsorship reasons? It's an annual professional football league that sits at the top of the Portuguese Football League system. So this is the best domestic football league in Portugal that plays out each and every year. The Primeira Liga was founded back in 1934, so some very rich history over the past 90 plus years. It's one of the best soccer leagues in the world with some excellent talent to boot, currently 7th in UEFA's club coefficient as of the 2024-25 season. What that means is that the Primeira Liga is essentially the 7th best football league in all of Europe at the moment. At the top of this list, you can see the regular suspects like England and the Premier League, the Italian Serie A, Spain's La Liga. Not too far down the list is Portugal, so it's absolutely one of the best in Europe and really a top 10 football league across all continents. In terms of the number of teams that compete in the Primeira Liga each season, that number currently sits at 18 teams as of the 2025 season. Most of the top leagues have around 18 or 20 clubs that compete each year. In Portugal, that number has changed throughout its history, but ever since 2014, it's been an 18-club league. Now, earlier I did mention that the Primeira Liga, or Liga Portugal, is at the very top of the Portuguese Football League system. This is a look at that in its entirety, along with all the different levels. Primeira Liga, the number one league in the country, but just below that is the Liga Portugal 2. That's the second professional division in Portugal. We also have on the third level the semi-professional league, that is the Liga 3. Level 4 is the Campeonato de Portugal, and then below that is several amateur leagues not listed here. What's really important to know about the Portuguese Football League system is that the specific clubs in each of these leagues does change each season. That's because these leagues have an interconnected system of promotion and relegation. So in the Primeira Liga, each season the bottom 2 or 3 clubs actually get relegated and sent down to the Liga Portugal 2. Likewise, the top 2 or 3 performing teams from Liga Portugal 2 get promoted and get to play in the Primeira Liga the following season. The Primeira Liga will always be at the top, but the clubs themselves that compete throughout these divisions changes every single year. Schedule-wise, it's pretty similar to all the other major European leagues. The season starts up in August and then lasts until the following May, with players given the summer months off for big international tournaments like the World Cup or Euros. Primeira Liga matches most often take place on Saturday or Sunday, but do occasionally happen midweek. For the format, the Primeira Liga operates in a very similar way to most of the world's best leagues. We have our 18 clubs. Those 18 all play the other 17 teams twice for a total of 34 games. Each team plays 34 matches in a season, half of them in their own home stadium and half of them on the road. From those 34 games, each team is awarded a certain number of points based off of the result of the match. If a team wins the game, they get 3 points. If it's a draw, they receive 1 point. And if a team loses, they aren't awarded any points at all. After every team has played their 34 games, we tally up all of the points, and the club with the most is the Primeira Liga champion. Oddly enough, though, only 5 different clubs have ever won the Primeira Liga in its 90-plus year history. In Portugal, they have what's called a Big Three, with their 3 most successful clubs, Benfica, Porto, and Sporting CP. Between those 3 clubs, they've won every single title except for 2, so they're by far the 3 teams to beat in the Primeira Liga, at least 20 titles for each of those historic clubs. It's important to note, though, there's a lot more to play for each year than just the Primeira Liga title. This is an example of the final table from the 2023-24 season. You can see that Sporting CP finished with the most overall points with 90. They ended up winning the championship. However, Sporting and the second place team, Benfica, both qualified for the following season's Champions League thanks to finishing in the top 2. The Champions League, an extremely prestigious continental competition in Europe that takes place every year. Likewise, the teams that finish in positions 3 and 4 in the table also qualify for European competition the following season. Those clubs qualify for the UEFA Europa League. The club that finishes in 5th place is also eligible to qualify for the UEFA Conference League. That's the 3rd tier of European competition. So, like I said, there's a lot up for grabs. The higher up the table you finish, the more prize money you receive. And then at the very bottom, the bottom 2 or 3 teams automatically get relegated or sent down to the Liga Portugal 2 for the following season. So you really don't want to finish that low. Even if you finish in 14th or 15th place, that's exponentially better than getting relegated. Those bottom 2 or 3 clubs replaced by Liga Portugal 2 teams the following year. One last thing, if you ever hear about the Tasa de Liga, that's simply the main annual cup competition or knockout tournament for teams in Portugal. Most countries have a cup competition that runs throughout the year in addition to their domestic leagues. The Tasa de Liga is open to all clubs in the Primeira Liga and Liga Portugal 2. Just think of it as another potential trophy that Portuguese clubs can win throughout the year in addition to the Primeira Liga title that we've covered today. Thanks a lot for watching my Primeira Liga video. Please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the Snowman Sports Media if you enjoyed it and want more soccer and football content and weekly videos. Cheers!